This is a video summary of Morte d'Arthur by Cole Cannon. You start off in the story, Book 1, Section 1. You have the Duke of Tintagel and you have Grail. They were married. The Duke of Tintagel died, but before Grail knew that he died, Merlin disguised Uther as the Duke of Tintagel, and so Grail didn't know that he was really Uther, and so they together made Arthur. Arthur grew up and he was kind of fathered by Sir Ector, and he pulled the sword out of the stone. It was said that if you pulled the sword out of the stone, that you were the rightful heir to the throne, and so after many times of hundreds of different people trying to pull it out, Arthur was the only one who could do it. So Arthur then became the king, all right? And Arthur was a king of the people, and he was a king who fought for justice. But there were 6 kings who did not like Arthur being the king. And so they decided that they wanted to overthrow Arthur. And so he fought all of them and ended up defeating them. And if you're still in Book 1, you move on to Section 3. So Arthur was kind of pushed to find a wife by Merlin. And he said that he wanted to marry Guinevere. And Merlin warned him that Guinevere was destined to be with Lancelot, but he didn't care. And he still wanted to marry her, all right? Next, King Leodegrance gave Arthur the Round Table. It's had 150 knights. There were 3 blank chairs at the Round Table, and the one in the middle read Siege Perilous. It was said that whoever sat in the Siege Perilous that wasn't meant to be in it would die. In Section 5, Arthur, Accolane, and Uriens were out hunting harp when they discovered a barge, and they got on the barge, and they all had spells cast upon them, and they were cursed, and they all woke up in different areas. So here they're on the barge, and there was many beautiful women on this barge. Later on in this section, Morgan Le Fay, who is Arthur's half-sister, wants to overthrow Arthur's kingdom with Accolane. And so, to do this, while Arthur was asleep, she went into his room and stole his sword, his magic sword, so that he didn't have power anymore. Alright, so, when you skip through the books, getting to book 6, Galahad comes into the picture. Galahad is born. And as soon as Galahad is born, the name on the Siege Perilous turns into Galahad. So this was a great turning point for the Knights of the Round Table because they now had someone that the Siege Perilous belonged to. And so after the name appeared on the Siege Perilous, a stone appeared in the river with a sword in it, and Galahad pulled that sword out of the stone. Now that every seat in the Round Table was finally full, this guy Nicaean, he went to the knights, and he sent them on a quest to find the Holy Grail. And he told them that they all had to go alone and split up and go search for it alone. And King Arthur was very sad because he knew that all of his knights would not make it back alive. And so eventually, Galahad, Lancelot, and Percival and Bors came to this castle that the Grail was in, but Lancelot was not allowed inside of the castle because he was sinful. And basically, Galahad and Percival and Bors see the Grail, and they see the Holy Spirit, and it was a big thing, and it was crazy. So if you move on to the next book, Book 8, so Lancelot and Guinevere have this emotional affair for many years, just like Arthur knew that they would, and that ended up being the downfall of Arthur's court. It ended up destroying Arthur's court. And so they were attacked by knights that wanted to take them to Arthur, but Lancelot actually fought off all of the knights to save them. So and so Arthur sentences her to burning at the stake. And at the last second, Lancelot rides in and kills all these people and saves Guinevere. And Gawain was very mad at Lancelot for killing his brothers and his sons. And so he was very mad at him. And so Lancelot and Guinevere kind of go into hiding from everyone. And at this point in the story, Arthur and Mordred kind of have their final battle, and they both mortally wound each other. And so Mordred just kind of dies, and then Arthur goes off, and he has his sword thrown into the lake, and he's sent on a barge, supposedly to Avalon, but he didn't make it. And then Arthur died, and later on in the story, Guinevere died, and Lancelot buried her next to Arthur. And that is it. Thank you for watching.